I cannot figure out a good spot to put you guys, so I hope that works. If my phone falls from this height, it'll likely be the end of it, so I'm doing this for you guys. Just gonna make sure it stays. Actually, I'm gonna set my bundled up coat below that spot so if it falls, hopefully we're okay. Alright, one thing I forgot we need to do is take this shelf off the wall. I thought it was a good idea back when I built it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll put it back someday. Embarrassed I haven't finished painting out here. There's a couple things I haven't finished, and it's been what, like almost 3 years now this has been done. I need to get out here and paint. I need to finish the roof, some of the ceiling panels with insulation, and the cedar shakes on the gable roof on the front side. They're done on the back side, but that reminds me, if you haven't watched this series of the Ham Shack build, go back, and I started right from the beginning with just my trailer, just a frame, and kind of tried to show everything as we went. So if you're looking for something to do, you can go back and watch on the channel. I think I might even have a playlist for it, but I'm not certain. So anyway, yeah, go back and watch that if you'd like. Okay, at this point, I've got just a few zip ties, and I'm going to try and clean up whatever wiring we can, so I kind of have an idea where stuff needs to go. And we'll get it all straightened out. So this is going over here. It's way too long, but that's okay. This is going over here. And this goes over here. I think I'm going to actually switch some of these around. So I had mentioned this earlier. I hope you can hear me okay. This is my microphone side of things, as far as how that signal is split. So what this does is I have one input, which is my microphone, but then I have 3 outputs. And so what that's doing is just splitting that one signal into 3 different places. And where it goes is 2 of those places are each radio, and then the 3rd place is for when I'm podcasting. It goes directly to the mixer. So that sits behind the radio at all times, and I'm just moving a couple of those inputs around. Alright, we've got our power to the radio, and this is far too long. So this is one cable that we'll shorten up. And you want to be careful when you are looping or coiling up. Antenna cables is one, audio cables is one. Power is not quite as big of a deal. But when you're coiling the cable, I don't know if this is the correct terminology, but I think you're changing the impedance of that cable and causing either interference in an audio situation, or you could be causing a difference in SWR in an antenna situation. So you want to be careful doing that. Back in my CB days, when I first put my CB in the truck, I ran that cable across the dashboard and back and across and back, all that extra length, because they said there was kind of a sweet spot for the length of cable that you can buy. It was like 16 feet or something, I don't remember. But anyway, I had a terrible SWR and I couldn't get my antenna figured out, and all of that was wrong. And after talking to Right Channel Radios, who I bought it from, they said, well, when I told them my problem, they said, is your antenna cable, your coax, run across the dashboard in a bunch of different places? And I said, yes, it is. And they said, you need to loosely coil that in about 1.5 foot coil in one spot, because having it run across all of that electrical under the dashboard was causing all kinds of interference and problems. So anyway, just something to be careful of. Okay, here we have a ground wire, and I think this is going to go to our antenna tuner. So we'll just run that over this direction. And this ground wire is going to go to our radio, so that's in an okay location. I'm not sure what to do about my coax switches just yet, because I've got 2 of them, and that's something we're going to have to figure out. One of these is for bypass, so it'll go either to the antenna or to the dummy load on the output, so the last step in my chain. And the other one is on the first step of my chain, and that either goes to my radio or my transceiver. So we're going to have to draw that up and figure out the best place to put those when we're figuring out cable lengths and everything that I need out here. But for now, we'll just set those kind of by each other right here. Okay, next, let's get our speaker and our transceiver in place. I'm just going to get this chair out of the way completely. Okay, starting with the speaker. So kind of like I said, for now this is just going to sit here by the window. Eventually I think it'd be kind of cool to mount it up here, but maybe not. Maybe that's worse. Could even go up here, but that's something to think about. So if you have any ideas as far as that goes, let me know in the comments. We'll put that there. And next is our radio. So I just need to dangle our key lines down out of the way and make sure those end up in the front, and this ends up in the front, and these 3 go to the back. So we'll hook those up, set it on top, and you'll see here in a second. Okay, so the backside is connected. All of our front side cables I'd like to run right down the middle. That hides those nicely. All of this cold equipment is warming up in a hurry, and I am not a fan of the moisture. That's one thing the shack is not good for. Okay, we're going to connect our tile adapter to this radio. Kind of set it back nicely in place. And then our switching box that I showed you yesterday has a nice little Velcro spot here, but I'm missing the bottom. So I need to find that and get it back on. But that sits right there, right by the radio, so it's accessible. And the way this goes is our foot switch there, and then we have each radio here. And I like to set it that the right one is here because it's to the right and this is to the left. So this is my 2-meter radio up here. So that's going to go to the right. And actually I'm going to run that behind this foot to keep it in place a little better. And then our Kenwood right here, I usually just kind of tuck back like that. And that'll go to the left. Not bad. Okay, so that's basically done. I did not get a chance to look at the riser for the microphone yet, so that's something I need to do. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time is tie that ground wire up, so we'll do that right now. Kind of a funny story on this ground wire for my 2-meter radio. I was having all kinds of noise interference, just slightly, but I obsess over that stuff, and I want to know why I have the noise and where it's coming from and how to get rid of it. And so I tried everything. I tried an impedance match, like a transformer. I built this, I bought the parts for that to try and get rid of that. It didn't work. I put a choke, ferrite choke on the mic here. I tried it at the other end of the mic. That didn't work. I tried a ground lift on the mic. I tried a ferrite choke here. I tried crisscrossing wires, different power source, turning lights on and off, turning radios on and off, everything, and nothing would work. I put ferrite chokes on my power supply. I grounded the power supply. Nothing worked. Finally, I put a ground wire on the chassis of the radio, and it immediately got rid of the noise. And that's one thing that they don't specify as far as I know. So if you have a TYT 9800 or the equivalent Yaesu, I think is the 8800 or 8900, or really any 2-meter radio that you're having problems with, what I thought was, since it has a power and a ground, that this electrical ground, the black wire, was the ground, but that's not the case. There is a chassis ground that they don't mention, and there's nowhere to put it, so I ended up just crimping an eyelet that goes to this screw in the side of it to my ground, earth ground, and that immediately got rid of the noise. So something to think about is, even though your piece of equipment doesn't have a lug for a chassis ground, does not mean it doesn't need one. So I added that, that worked, and hopefully if you're having that problem, it can work for you too. Okay, got that cleaned up. This antenna cable is a little unfortunate. It's too long, but I think later this summer I just need to push more outside so that it doesn't make this big loop. But for now, we're going to move on to our antenna tuner. And for that, all we have is the antenna in. We're not sure about the cable coming out yet as far as length. That's something we need to draw up. And then our ground, our chassis ground. So this will be the last step in the chain. Feed line transmitter. Okay. This will be the last step in the chain. And I will draw that out here in just a second, what the signal chain is going to be. But basically, starting at the radio, we're going to have the radio and the antenna analyzer next to each other on one side of a coax switch. And then those are going to run into the, I want to say the amp. And then the amp is going to run into the another switch, I believe. And then one side of that goes to the antenna tuner, and the other side goes to a dummy load. I'll draw that out so it makes more sense to both of us. I'm kind of confused myself. Okay, so this thing needs a wing nut and a couple washers. It looks like we're missing to add our chassis ground to that. So I will run to the hardware store and get those. There's actually a blizzard happening right now, so it's probably not the best time to do that. But at least our cable is in place where it needs to be, so nothing's going to change there. Great, so that looks good. I do see an issue having this here. Our two coax switches are hidden back in this gap, and that's not ideal. So what we might end up doing is moving those to this side so that when you're seated, you can get a hand on both of them right there. So that's something to keep in mind that we've learned. All right, I wanted to wipe this down as we go. I think at some point we'll repaint this, what do you call it? Cover? Chassis? Enclosure? Because the paint is starting to peel off. Okay, that's looking pretty good. One thing I had mentioned was I wanted to have my power meter right here where it's easily viewable, and I think we'll stick with that. The plan is to put a riser under this mic, and so it won't bump into that. So I think we will go with that plan. As well wipe this down while we're at it. I do like the looks of that right there. For whatever dumb reason, it will not sit straight. And I don't know if there's a foot out of line or what the deal is. But that's just kind of an annoyance that it won't sit. Oh, that's pretty good. Nope. Had it for a second. Not bad. Alright, so that's pretty clean, and I've got quite a bit of flexibility with the mic still. we might change the location of that in the future. Okay, next was for the top of the antenna tuner. We were going to put one speaker up there, and this will sit on a wedge of foam in the future, but for now it's just going to sit up here. The power for that right here. And then our mixer, at least for now, the plan was to go right next to the speaker. And this will also be kind of on a riser. Not bad. I think what I might do is, since I need more access to this on a regular basis, do something more like so. Okay, this is a mic input. And I think we'll do all the mixer routing later, just because it's time consuming and requires a little bit of thought. For some reason I had that in channel 2 if I remember right, but we'll redo all that later. Power for the mixer. Is right here. Not bad. And then these are the radio inputs to the mixer. We had these on 5, 6, 9, and 10. And one of those is going to be a little short, so we might have to go back to our original location here. Like so. Not looking too bad. Okay, that pretty much leaves just all the little stuff. We've got a bunch of cables, our dummy load, which we can put anywhere, preferably off the desk, because you don't really need to see this or access it, you just need it plugged in. We still have a pretty decent workspace available, and I can move this all down just slightly if I want to. I thought about moving this lamp, but I do like having it for working on projects here. So if need be, we could add an additional lamp up here. But yeah, I think that pretty well does it, at least for this part of the video. I can run my speaker cable pretty easily from one side to the other. You don't need to see that. And then measure the lengths. I think what I'm going to do is take just a length of string and measure all of the lengths of coax that I need and try and get all that ordered at one time. So we'll get everything wired up and run that separate power for the amplifier. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. So if you have any other ideas, make sure to let me know down in the comments, and that'd be great. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you guys on the next video.